can lie, me.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Queen Effect podcast, where we discuss relatable situations that occur in our everyday lives. Our goal is to create a safe space where we can learn, teach, and uplift one another. I'm Shay Monet, the Golden Goddess.
It's your girl Coco.
And it's Madam RJ.
Hey everybody, and we are back with part 3 of our parenting topic. We left off talking about generational curses, so we're going to jump back into it. I want to read something that was sent to us by one of our followers, and we're going to discuss these things and just go from there. So the question is, why is it hard to let go or get over obstacles or challenges we face as children with our parents? What is the next honest approach? Signed, The Lost Person. Along with that, we said, how do you begin to heal from childhood trauma? Do you honestly need for the offender to admit that they hurt you? Will an apology actually change or fix the pain? Why do you feel like people deny traumatic things that they've done to you instead of apologizing? How can you break generational curses to stop these problems from trickling down? So that is a lot. Also, to our listeners, I do apologize. We have 2 guest stars with us. We have the lovely KK and the lovely Karina. Say hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome, so they will be joining us and just giving their insight on this topic as well. So who wants to start talking about this? Because it's a lot.
Let's break it up into pieces first, because that was a lot. What was the first question again?
Okay. So why is it hard to get over obstacles or challenges that we faced as children with our parents? And what is the next honest approach?
I don't know about you guys, but my parents, and I love my parents. They did the best they could. So please don't come for my mama or my late father. But when I remind them of things that happened when I was a child, or it could not even childhood, maybe like young adulthood, it's hard for them to accept my reality. Like, it doesn't exist to them. That never happened. That's not how it happened. Or I'm probably just overreacting. So my feelings never really get acknowledged or validated. And it almost comes across as gaslighting, because I'm over here tripping about this situation, and to you it's like, why are you making it such a big deal? And if they do apologize, like, one thing my father used to do became my pet peeve is like, all right, it's okay. Like, brush under the rug, like, all right, I'm sorry, like, let it go, let's move on. And it's like, no, I need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. I need to at least hear that you're acknowledging my feelings or my experience. So I think that for me, that's why it was hard for me to let go of certain things that happened to me when I was a child.
I feel like I can relate to that as well. Like, a lot of my feelings were invalidated or certain things, so you can't get over it.
It's like, it's hard to get over something when it's like, you know it happened and they know it happened, but I don't know if it's that admitting that it happened hurts, or if it brings shame, or maybe sometimes people feel like if we just ignore the situation, it'll go away. But it definitely does make it hard for you to be able to heal, because especially depending on what age this traumatic event or whatever may have happened happens, it may be like, okay, am I making this up? Did I create this scenario in my head? So then you begin to question if you really experience, what you experienced. So yeah, that will definitely make it hard for you to get over. What you thinking, Cole?
I agree. I feel like our parents, if it's something that, was not a good moment for them, or something that they did to us, it's pushed back in the back of your mind. And my father, rest in peace, has done that to me as well, where he'll say, oh no, I didn't do that to you, or it didn't happen that way. And my mother, love her to death to this day, but she does the same thing. And I think if it's something for them that they really weren't happy with, how they, handled us as children, or it might have been a traumatic experience for them, they push it in the back of their mind as if it never existed. you know, and I don't know if that's a mechanism for them to get over the hurt or the pain or whatever the situation may be, but that's what I think why they do that.
I can also speak on everyone's topic. Like for back in the day, good mental health wasn't how it is now. Now we can actually have the resources and get the help that we actually need. And back then they looked at it differently, because I can also say that my mom, she didn't raise me, so she really didn't have like a say in my upbringing. But a lot of my mental health and what I deal with day to day and what I'm continuing to deal with is through the absence of her being there but not being present, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Mhm. So how do y'all think we begin to heal from things like that? Because the reality of it is you may not always get the closure that you're looking for. You may never get that apology or that acceptance that anything went wrong. So how do you begin to even move on or heal from it?
You know, I'm glad that you said that, because, you know, a lot of us, I don't know if I want to say a lot, I'm going to speak for myself. I recognize that I tend to bring some of my childhood trauma to my adulthood, and the closure that I wanted from my parents and I wasn't able to get for certain, you know, situations is the same type of drive of closure that I wanted for certain people that hurted me, especially people that I was in relationships with. And through those relationships, that's when I learned that you don't always need closure. It's best to just heal yourself and move forward and do better and learn from that situation. How that ties into my upbringing. For me, when my father passed away, one of my regrets is that I wasn't able to heal our relationship the way I wanted it to be, because I was still holding on to certain grudges, because, you know, like I said, he would always just brush things under the rug, you know, let it be what it is and move on. And that's not how I am. We have two different healing styles when it comes to that. And so I regret not letting it go and moving forward and just accepting him for who he is and accepting the situation for what it was and just loving him the best way that I could, despite me not getting what I feel like I needed from him. And I think that the best way to heal from that is to just heal your inner child. The kid in us still exists, and it plays out in so many ways in our adulthood. I think it's best to just heal yourself and heal the inner child and give your inner child that type of love and attention that you needed for yourself, because our providers or members of our family weren't able to give it to us. And unfortunately, a lot of us are still holding on to that hurt and pain, and it's spilling out in our adulthood relationship.
I completely agree. And I literally, in a lot of situations, dealing with the missing pieces to my puzzle with the bond of my mother. Not many people know, but I've gotten over the fact of being able to speak about it. So my mom is currently still a drug addict, crack mostly. My father died the same day that I was born, so my grandparents raised me. So there's always been a big missing piece to the puzzle. So what I've learned over the year, if you want a different result, you got to take a different approach. So with everything that's gone wrong with a mother-daughter relationship or a father-daughter relationship, most of us do have children. And what I didn't have as a child, I poured 10 times more into all my children. And so it gets hard and it gets tough. But like I said, if you want a different result, you got to take a different approach.
I like that. You're healing.
Yes.
You're healing yourself through doing right by your babies. That's beautiful. And giving them what you didn't have, you're able to heal yourself. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
I would say that, I didn't have a relationship with my dad for like a really long time. And then I went through a very traumatic event, and I spoke with my dad, and we talked, like, he just kind of admitted to me that he wasn't in the right space. A lot of the things he did was childish. And I feel like once I had a really in-depth conversation and he admitted his wrongs, I couldn't do anything but respect him. And that made our relationship a lot stronger. I look back on, like, my dad's probably my favorite person now. I mean, besides my mother. But just hearing that he messed up and he was a kid trying to be an adult, that meant a lot for me. And I kind of let go of all the hurt I had towards him.
So you were able to move on because you actually got that closure. He actually held himself accountable for his actions, which helped you to be able to heal and grow from it.
Yeah, because I feel like as a little kid, when you don't have a parent, you kind of think like, oh my God, like, what's wrong with me? Why don't you want to be in my life? Why don't you care enough to call me or whatever? I feel like when I got the reassurance that, like, it's not me, it was him, you know, and that kind of took a lot of burden I had put on myself. So yeah.
I'm glad you got that closure, because that's honestly what we all want.
Uh-huh.
It's through not getting it that we have to learn another way to cope with it. So
And it's like sometimes the best thing to do is just kind of keep it pushing. Sometimes you have to come up with that acceptance for yourself and be able to just keep it pushing and, move on.
Or sometimes the why may not be the answer you're looking for.
nope.
Yeah.
And you sometimes kind of learn that the hard way, but that why, you really don't want to know the real reason.
Oh my gosh. I have heard somewhere the lady was like, sometimes it's best to not, a lot of times the reason why we can't let go is because we don't understand why they did it. And we just want to understand why. Why did you do it? How could you do it? But for certain situations, once you learn the reason why, it's not a good thing because you might now make so much sense of it that now you're doing the same thing that they did to you to someone else.
I agree.
What was the other question, Shay?
It's crazy because just in us talking about it, we basically covered that whole everything. Like, yes, you can move on and you can heal and you can grow even without that person accepting it. It may be a little hard, but you can still do it. It's crazy because just in talking to you guys, you hear the different ways that everyone was able to kind of move on and heal, whether they got that acceptance or whether they didn't. And healing is just so important because when you're broken, you, like you said, you bring that over into your everyday lives, your interactions, your relationship, the way you raise your children. Some people follow the path of what their parents did and some people go the complete opposite direction. So I think when it comes to healing, recognizing that there's a problem and that something really bothered you is the first step, and then being able to just accept it and move on, whether you get the outcome that you want or not. I think we basically covered that whole little paragraph I read.
This was like a mini therapy.
Okay.
Parenting is not easy. There's no handbook. A lot of us, we don't know how to love because we weren't loved and we didn't try to learn how to love properly because whatever reason. So a lot of us is just trying our best. I ain't gonna lie, so some of y'all should have been parents, but I digress.
See, my thing is, it's so opposite because my mom was like, and still is, one of the most loving moms that a person can ask for. Like, yeah, we had our things, but I'll get on the phone and talk to my mom on the phone for 2-3 hours sometimes. We just be on the phone laughing and joking. But for me, I think that it's a beautiful thing. It's wonderful, and I would not have asked for it any differently. But she was so loving, not only to myself, but to everyone around her, to my dad and my father. Those of you who don't know, I have a father who birthed me, and then my dad is the one who raised me. But she was so over loving and poured so much into people, which is a beautiful thing. But when it's given and done with the wrong people, it can be bad for the person who's doing it. So I tend to overlove. I tend to overgive. So it's beautiful, but it's like you kind of got to have that boundary. And when you're raised in nothing but love, 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 right? You don't see the hatefulness. Like I grew up, and when I started dating and getting to know people, I was green. I didn't understand why people would be just so nasty or evil or mean. I always saw the good in it because that was how my mom was. So it's a beautiful thing, but then it's like, here goes that parenting thing where it's like, if I do too much right, I could potentially be, I don't want to say like set my baby up because that's what we're supposed to do, but y'all get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, don't get me wrong now. My mom was my best friend too. My mom is definitely my best friend. I love her to pieces. We have some situations that even to this day we're still navigating through. And that's normal. That's the way of parenting. Like it never ends. Like the relationship, as long as we're blessed to keep breathing, we're gonna continue learning about ourselves as we keep growing, we keep changing. And
Yeah.
That honestly makes me feel so good because me and my mom, we used to butt heads really bad. We're at a really good spot right now, but that makes me feel good to know that it's going to keep happening, but it's not going to always be like that.
And I'm working on that, you guys. It's taken me some time, and it's taken me almost 2 decades to get over a lot of things because it gets deeper and deeper. But as far as forgiving and letting go, and just not just for her, but for me, because God forbid anything happened to her and I was still resentful or hateful, then now I'm dealing with that. And now I'm dealing with like regret and I wish I would have done this. I wish I could have done that. And now it's taken me a while, but I can say the last 1.5 years, I've been closer to my mom, and I'm 31. And so a good year, me and my mom are in a good spot. And it wasn't just for her, but it was for me because I have children, and I got over the fact that you weren't there for me as a mother, but I'm gonna allow you to be there for your grandchildren as long as you do right by them.
Yes.
And so building that bond, it's taking time and a lot of prayer, a lot of thought, a lot of putting myself in her situation and trying to understand her lifestyle. I know my lifestyle. I know how I live. I know how I parent. I know that I'm going to be the best mom I can be to all of my children.
Yeah. I mean, and with the healing process, you know, take it one day at a time. The thing about situations like that, like you'll think you're over something and then you'll wake up and something will happen and you'll feel triggered and you're like, okay, well, I thought I was over it, but I'm kind of not over it. But like you say, you know, we all only have so much time on this earth. And, you know, I know what it's like. I mean, more than half of us on this phone know what it's like to not have a parent. And, you know, for me, I was in a good space with my father. God rest his soul when he left, but some of my siblings, we all made amends, but I know that they wish that maybe they had more time to be able to spend it, to be able to make it right. So to heal and just get through it one day at a time, but just make sure that you're not, it's hard to say not to resent someone because of the things that you've encountered, but just try to, you know, let the resentment go a little. Feel what you feel, but still love on her. So you're doing the right thing, just one day at a time.
How did this play out with your parenting for those that have children? Because I know, like, for me, like I said, one of the things that I dealt with during my childhood that I didn't like is the fact that we don't acknowledge the problem. We just move on. I've always hated as a kid, but that is literally a norm in my family. We would just move on, or they would just want all of us to just move on. No sorries, just so anyway, what's going on now? What you need now? And it's like, I'm still stuck. I'm still stuck on that, and everybody's moving forward. And so with my child, I make sure that I acknowledge his feelings, and I do catch myself. You know, it's crazy. I catch myself reacting how my parents would have reacted, and then there's beauty in it because even though I catch myself reacting how my parents would have reacted towards me, I can see myself as a kid not liking that response. So that I think about how it's affecting my son and how he could be feeling. And then I have to go back and apologize and try to see how he feels about the situation and have those times. But through doing that with him, it's actually healing me. It's healing my inner child.
Yeah, that's true too. I feel like when it comes to our kids, you have to take accountability, you know, because they're humans too. And I do that a lot with Royal. I might say something or do something, and then I'll take a step back to see his reaction to say like, okay, I didn't have to say it that way, or maybe I'm having a bad day. So anytime I feel like I've wronged my son because he's a good kid, I take that accountability. And we don't know how important that is just to say, baby, you know what? Mommy, sorry. I really didn't mean that. And he'll look at me and say, Mommy, it's okay. I understand. You know, it kind of gives them that assurance to say, yeah, I'm a child. Mommy's going to chastise me, but she care about my feelings. You know, and the ultimate part for me, I feel like when it comes to healing is forgiveness. You just got to forgive because you might not get that reaction that you want from your parent or your family members that done you wrong when you were a child. But when you take that initiative to say, you know what, I'm making amends, I'm forgiving them, whether they give me an apology or not, then that bond starts to change. And that's how I am with my mom to this day. Like, we haven't had the best relationship, and she is a, you know, recovering addict. So I go through a lot with her, but she's my only living parent as well. So I just take one day at a time, taking one day at a time, just loving on her and just starting from now. I can't get the past back, but right now, this moment, the present time, we working on us, and that's what matters. If there's ever a hiccup we come against, whether it's her trying to critique me on my parenting styles or me telling her, you know, I got it, we think of a solution and just try to get through it the best way we can. Nobody's parents are perfect, but God chose us for them, so we gotta just make it work the best we can.
The pattern I find myself following, I definitely parent like my mom. I tried to, so growing up, my mom was not the parent that was just gonna whoop your ass, okay? Like, you really, really, really had to take her there. But what my mama was gonna do, she was gonna scream your head off, okay? She was gonna scream you from A to Z, okay? But that was her way of like getting her point across and letting you know you have really pissed me off and pushed me past my limit. Oh my gosh, I'm like that. I am a screamer. I will fuss. I might threaten, I'm gonna beat you behind, but it's really just me fussing and it's really just me trying to get them to understand this is not okay. I'm upset. But what comes along with that is being pushover mom, because my mom was pushover mom. I mean, not for me, but for the younger siblings whose names we won't mention. She was pushover mom. She was pushover mom for them. And I don't know, honestly, truthfully, I never tested those limits because it was like the respect was in me to like not even attempt or try to. But I'm like that with my kids now. It's like, okay, no, I'm taking your phone. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't go to the game. Then they at school and they text me, "Ma, can we go to the game?" And then I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to ruin their childhood. So I'm like, yeah, you can go to the game when they really should not have gone to the game. So it's like I parent like her in that way. I definitely do try to talk to my kids when I'm wrong because, like I said, I scream a lot. And if y'all know me, I'm 0 to 1,000. Once I calm down and I realize, okay, maybe you didn't have to take it far, I will, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is why it happened. I apologize. Maybe I could have reacted in a different way. I am working on trying not to yell so much, but again, I'm a lot like my mom. I'd rather scream on you than to hit you. I don't like putting my hands on my kids. I don't like hitting them. It doesn't make me feel good. Now, sometimes I ass whooping is neat, but to just going around whooping ass, like, nah. But yeah, when it comes to my kids, I'm a screamer. I'm pushover mom. But I do try to be a little more apologetic, and I do try to double back, especially if I was wrong, and say, hey, I was wrong. Or again, just explain this is why this happened. So
I feel like I would take the yelling mom over the whoop your ass mom, because my mom didn't play that shit. She just whooped my ass and really did little explaining. So then, eventually like that ass whooping don't mean nothing because you just whooping my ass. It is what it is. You're not explaining anything to me. And then it is also like a couple days later, let's just sweep it under the rug. When I didn't want to talk about it, it just is what it is. I would have definitely took the yelling mom growing up over the whoop my ass mom.
Listen, you guys, I'm Nigerian, so I got yelled at. I got compared to the other people in my community. I got whooped, and I called them Nigerian poses. It doesn't have a name, but they'll have you like in random like poses, and you have to like hold it. That hurts worse than getting your ass wrong and recognize what and do those things. But did they explain to me what I did wrong? Did they explain to me the reason behind why they were so mad? No, it was just their way or no way, and I didn't do it their way. You know.
why God started building that helmet, huh? The helmet of the Lord.
Who you telling? Yeah, well, like I said, my mother didn't raise me. And so my grandparents did. I don't really recall getting, as they would call it, spankings or pow because I am a mixed breed or whatever. So for my kids, I'm a screaming mom, but I'm also the mom that they don't take serious because I discipline them, but I discipline them with love. Though it's kind of hard. Like I say, if they need to get hit for doing something very serious or getting into trouble or whatever, they will get disciplined. But as far as me, I give them probably a billion chances before they really see me get really upset. So I don't know. One thing I do explain to my kids is why they felt like they got in trouble. Why did I have to raise my voice to you? Why did I have to get upset? They're both old enough to understand. Actually, all of them are old enough to understand why they're getting in trouble. And do they know why? And, I have to do that because you know right from wrong. And so now you know not to do it. But I still also feel like, mommy had to do it. I don't want to do it. I had to do it. So it's different.
Mm-hmm. Every time my son takes me to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, he knows why each level. On the last level, he really understands now because, I gave too many warnings and I explained why. He gets upset that it happened.
So I know we wanted to speak on reality, our reality versus our parents' realities. Things are definitely different now versus then, because as we stated, they did do a lot less talking. For most parents, it was a lot less talking, more action, whereas now I think we acknowledge our kids' feelings a little more. We don't have that mindset of children are to be seen, not heard. I'll have a conversation with my kids. If my kids ask me, okay, mommy, why? I don't take that as disrespect. When I was growing up, if I was upset and my mom was like fussing or yelling at me and I asked her why or I questioned her, that was disrespectful as hell. we are not having a conversation. I said what I said, get out of my face, was definitely the energy that was being given. Whereas now, like if I'm fussing and my kids are like asking questions because they're confused, my ex used to say that I was allowing it to go back and forth with me. Some people on the outside may view it like that, but I didn't view it like that. I just viewed it as like we're having a conversation. And I'm fussing right now because I'm irritated, but I'm conscious enough to know that you have feelings in this as well.
I don't have any kids, so I feel like I base a lot of like, I can compare like a lot of the things I went through as a kid to see like how my friends are handling it with their kids. And I would say a lot of my friends are way more patient with their children. Like you said, when I was growing up, I was supposed to be seen, not heard. Mind my business, stay out of grown folks' business, whatever. But I see a lot more patience, understanding, and I feel like a lot of people's kids are involved in a lot more things than I would have been when I was their age. But like you're making your kid feel a part, seen. Okay, yeah, we can all do this, instead of it being like a grown up thing and kids not being a part.
Boundaries. I get what you're saying. It's like the boundaries are being blurred between adults and children. That's so true. And that's social media. That
is social media. There's bad and good to it, because as we all was talking and saying how we talk to our children about the problem at hand, it reminded me of, I don't know if you heard this from your parents, but I hear this a lot with my mom and other foreigner parents. They feel like our generation is weak as fuck and everyone is depressed and they're not depressed. Like why are we so depressed? But they went through life harder than we did. And then it made like an answer that came to my head was when Karina had said earlier that we have more access to therapy. I feel like, just like Shay said, we're exposed to social media and we've been exposed to therapeutic topics that we did not see at home or help to understand our situations. So I think that our generation is just more in tune with our feelings. And it can be a negative thing because of social media. It is influencing those whose mindsets may be weaker, or they may be in a vulnerable state right now because of whatever they're going through at the moment. So they're easily influenced. But on the positive end, when it comes to parenting, it's helping us just be more aware of the type of love that we're supposed to show our kids and a softer way to approach the issues that everyone faces as a parent. So that was a mouthful, but
okay, well, I think we have covered everything that we wanted to talk about today. Thank you once again, Karina and KK, for guest starring and joining us. We really appreciate you guys' opinion. And we really enjoyed having you guys on our show today.
Thank you for having us.
We hope that you all have enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Queen Effect podcast, and we will catch you on the next episode. Follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on IG and Twitter under @TheQueenEffect, as well as Facebook and YouTube under The Queen Effect. If there's a specific topic you want us to cover or want to send in an anonymous question for our Dear Sis segment, email us at thequeeneffect@gmail.com.